Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And in this case, we're honored to be with Meredith Montgomery. She is the Executive Director of Bike Nashville. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
We get to talk about the power of walking and biking, pedestrian safety, so much more. Let's start with a little bit of history and context, though. Give us some background on Bike Nashville.
Sure. Bike Nashville has been around for more than 20 years. We're about to celebrate our 25th anniversary. A local nonprofit started in Nashville by a bunch of advocates that were interested in making it easier to walk and bike in Nashville. It was primarily led by volunteers until about maybe 10 years ago. And we've seen a lot of growth in the last handful of years. I came on board just a year and a half ago, and definitely an exciting transition time for the organization as we grow and adapt.
When you talk about walking and biking, safety, mobility, all of these things that come into play, sidewalks, crossing areas, like all these things, give us an idea of what you look at, what you're focused on. Let's start diving in.
It's a big topic. I think transportation is such a big topic. It's such a personal topic as well. People are moving through the city every day, whether they're in their car, whether they're on foot, on bike, taking the bus. So yes, we cover a lot of different aspects. So we prioritize pedestrians and cyclists. They're the most vulnerable users on our roadways. And making it safer, advocating for infrastructure and for decisions to be made to make it easier for people to move through Nashville without a car, however they like, with ease, comfort, dignity. And then we also do a lot of education. So we want to teach people about, how to make the city more bike walk friendly. Also to get more people on their bikes. So a popular class that we host is called Adult Learn to Ride, where we teach adults how to ride a bike. We're in the schools as well. So talking to kids, working with our Safe Routes to School program. This past year, or in 2022, we launched walking school buses for the first time. So this idea of getting kids walking to school and using the same model as a school bus. They have stops, same route every morning to get them to school, hosting walk and bike to school days, and then also just a lot of engagement. So out there talking to community members and trying to work within focused neighborhoods to get some more people speaking about these issues and showing them how they can speak up about bike ped infrastructure and needs, as well as doing fun events like Tour de Nash is our biggest event that we host every year. It's a big bike ride around Nashville. Open Streets is where we shut down a major street for a Sunday afternoon. We close it to cars and open it to people. So we're busy.
Do you all benchmark against other cities to figure out best practices, where Nashville is in relationship to other communities? Talk about benchmarking and kind of where that stands for Nashville.
Sure. As far as peer cities, we're pretty high when it comes to pedestrian fatalities. So I believe we're ranked 24th in the country for pedestrian fatalities per 100,000 people. So knowing that nationwide trends are up for this huge issue when we talk about bike ped fatalities. But also, we know as Nashville, we have a particularly large amount of work to do. So currently, yes, we're looking at peer cities, but currently just trying to improve our local numbers is the main focus. So in 2022, we actually had a record-breaking year for people that were killed while walking on our streets. The city has committed to a Vision Zero commitment, which is a goal of 0 fatalities by 2050, but we would like to see that happen a lot sooner.
What will it take to get to that point? Obviously, there's the drivers paying attention, people not being on their phones and paying attention when they're moving around the community. A lot. In other words, what are the things that need to happen to get us to that point?
Sure. So I think the biggest thing is our infrastructure. So the way that our streets are built, they are not currently safe. They're definitely not built equally throughout the city. If you look at where these crashes are happening, the majority of them are happening in our vulnerable neighborhoods, and it's only a small amount of streets that are seeing the bulk of these tragedies. So we know that our corridors, these roads that carry a lot of traffic at high speeds, they're 4 lanes plus. That's where we're seeing that's our high injury networks. That's where we're seeing the most of these fatalities happen. So focusing our efforts there, I think, is really important. We can make a huge difference when we kind of target those areas. We didn't have a Department of Transportation until a couple of years ago. So that in and of itself is a step in the right direction. Just last year, beginning of 2022 is when Metro Council passed the Vision Zero Action and Implementation Plan. That implementation plan doesn't technically start until this year. So it's great to see the improvements that are coming. There are these named high injury intersections and networks with a combination of kind of more short-term quick build solutions as well as more longer-term transformational projects, but that those improvements just can't come fast enough. So as we are waiting for those improvements and as we are advocating for them to come as fast as possible and to be funded, we think, we're as an organization also looking at what can we do to try and change behavior now? And so I think, you named it, drivers have a lot of responsibility. And so we are looking at ways to, change that driver behavior. Yes, all road users have a sense of responsibility, but the ones that get behind the wheel have the largest weight of responsibility, quite literally. So we're exploring how to expand our pedestrian memorial program. So currently we do an annual pedestrian memorial, which is coming up at the end of this month, the end of January, where we honor and memorialize all of the victims that we lost the previous year, invite decision makers and city officials out to call them to action, and seeing how can we do that regularly through the year and bring attention to these crash sites that might grab the attention of a driver and say, oh, wow, somebody actually died here. Maybe I do need to slow down. And just trying to influence those behaviors so that that we all feel a sense of urgency right now. And what can we do to be a part of the solution?
The fact that you've identified the areas that are causing the most issues, when you look at the rapid growth and congestion and things that continue to happen, I mean, as the city, continues to build out and continue to expand, and all these opportunities that are good at the same time, though, cause challenges. How can the community kind of help make sure that as the community continues to grow, that we continue to focus on creating it so that we don't have to go back and fix it? We can do it on the front end and be proactive doing it on the front end.
Yeah, I think there's a few measures in place, like the sidewalk policy. So when a new development happens, that they're technically required to build sidewalks there. However, there's an in lieu fee, so they could pay a fee instead of putting the sidewalks in. The problem with that right now is that the way that I understand it, that fee was set when the policy was passed, and now that fee is exponentially smaller than what it actually costs to build a sidewalk. So if somebody says, I'm going to pay this fee instead, it's not really helping our cause. So I think that's not exactly answering your question, but that's an issue related to things that we need to be looking at as a city. And I also think it's just, we really try to emphasize the importance of community-driven decisions. So as this growth is happening and as the city becomes more committed to making these infrastructure improvements, we know where the improvements need to be made, but we need to involve the people that live there, the people that are using those roadways every day in those decisions to figure out what is best for them. So many of the issues that the city faced are all interconnected. So transportation, as there's a a fear of, okay, if we put in these beautiful bike lanes, is that going to lead to gentrification? And then the whole issue of affordable housing. So I really, the city and decision makers and everybody needs to look at everything in a more holistic vision, and how do all of these issues relate, and how can we all work together to make decisions that are going to benefit for us for the long time and benefit the people that are living here now, not the people that are going to come in and maybe push out current residents.
What gives you encouragement for how far we've come? I know we still have far to go, but how far we've come and where we're headed. So what gives you encouragement for the future ahead?
It's hard because we're in kind of that peak season of, we've got, it's darker longer. So we are seeing a lot of these fatalities, and it gets really discouraging on days, when I get another email that says that we've lost somebody. But we are making progress. And so it is encouraging. Just at the end of last year, we had a pedestrian that was hit in East Nashville, not far from our office on Shelby, and the community rose up. They spoke out. They held a press conference, and within it was less than 2 weeks, a very short time period, there were infrastructure improvements made. And I know that those infrastructure improvements, it was a pedestrian flashing beacon. So it's basically a light that at the crosswalk, somebody pushes a button, it lights up to get cars' attention. I know that improvement was planned, but we can't deny the fact that it happened, so shortly after there was an incident, after the community spoke up. So it was great twofold, that hearing people speak up and care about these issues and know how important they are, and seeing a response. Yes, in an ideal world, that intersection would have been fixed a week prior to that crash, so the crash didn't happen. But I think conversations are happening. I think we are moving in the right direction. I'm hopeful that especially in 2023, we will see more of these pieces of the implementation plan actually taking place, and seeing progress slowly but surely. And then you look at like the 12 South bike lanes, and that complete Green Street project that's going on. I mean, that is a huge transformational project. Seeing that, it's not finished yet, but seeing all the attention it's getting, how excited people are, I think when that's complete and to see it used, the only thing that'll do is good and motivate us to want to do that in more places throughout the city.
And like you said, too, the fact that, neighborhoods, communities coming together, being a shared voice and raising your voice, getting attention, that's what it takes, and leads us into the next piece of this, which is, you've touched on it a little bit throughout, but how can the community help your efforts, and tie it in even with your upcoming events and such?
Yeah, sure. So we're a member-based organization. So we are always looking for new members. As a nonprofit organization, we also rely heavily on contributions from both individuals and businesses. We have a sponsorship program. We're also funded partially by federal grants, but that is something we are trying to get away from because of all the strings attached and administrative work that is attached to those funds. So, of course, financial contributions are huge on the list, but I would say what is most important is getting the community involved. So becoming a member, we have volunteer opportunities throughout the year, volunteering, and then just, taking advantage of the events that we host, the educational opportunities that we host. Like I mentioned, Tour de Nash, which is in May every year, and then Open Streets, which happens each fall. We're actually working on seeing if we can do Open Streets twice a year, possibly doing one in May as well this year. So yeah, just getting involved with us, subscribing to our email list. We're posting ways that you can get involved as issues arise, and just speaking up as an individual. I say, like, I feel like a lot of people don't really realize the fact that we all have a right to move through the city safely. So, if you experience an unsafe situation, or you are in a car and you see somebody crossing mid-block, fighting traffic every day, report those issues, report them to Hub Nashville, reach out to your council member. And if for some reason you're not getting any response to that, reach out to us and we'll help elevate your concern and make sure that the community members are being heard.
Yeah. So last question is the easy one. Where do we go to get involved, to learn more? So website, social media, where would you direct us?
Sure. So our website is walkbikenashville.org, and our social media handles are walkbikenash, and we are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can subscribe to our email list also via our website. But we've always got stuff going on. We always welcome new faces, and different ways to get involved.
Well, Meredith, thank you for all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.